For almost 20 years, Ne-Yo didn't just write songs about love. He wrote the rule book on modern love. He was the R&B gentleman, the man who made an entire generation believe in finding the one. Then, in March 2025, Ne-Yo posted a picture with 4 girlfriends, calling them his pyramid. The internet absolutely lost its mind. How did the man who wrote this become this?
How's your love life?
My love life is phenomenal.
This wasn't a random midlife crisis. This was the final shocking move in a 20-year game of love, lies, and brutal heartbreak. This is the forensic analysis of how the undisputed gentleman of R&B went from writing the wedding songs of our generation to blowing up the entire concept of marriage. This is every woman, every scandal, and the secret evolution that led to his shocking new polyamorous lifestyle. Jessica White, the top model. Okay, so before Ne-Yo became the architect of his own personal harem of girlfriends, he had to start somewhere, and he started at the absolute top. To understand this first chapter, you have to picture the scene in 2005. Shaffer Smith, aka Ne-Yo, is the hottest songwriter on the planet. He just penned Mario's #1 smash, Let Me Love You.
You should let me love you.
He's stepping out from behind the curtain to become a star himself. And who do you link up with when you're about to blow up? You link up with the it girl. And not just any it girl, we are talking Jessica White, a certified grade A supermodel. The face of Maybelline, a Sports Illustrated icon. She wasn't just in the industry, she was the industry. A whole vibe. The backstory on how they met is a little fuzzy, but it was the perfect storm. The rising R&B king and the established supermodel queen. It was a match made in PR heaven, and for a couple of years, they were that couple. This relationship was mission critical for his brand. It took him from just being the talented writer to being Ne-Yo, the suave, desirable heartthrob who could pull one of the most beautiful women in the world. It gave him that A-list stamp of approval. This right here, this was the defining image. The power, the style, this is what they sold to the world, and we all bought it. Now, behind the flashbulbs, a pattern was starting. Their relationship was a classic celebrity roller coaster, constantly on again, off again. And the reason was the oldest story in the book, temptation. Sources at the time said that as Ne-Yo's fame exploded, so did the rumors. He was on tour, she was flying around the world for shoots, and whispers started getting louder that he was having a very good time on the road with girls while touring. Oh man. And this is where the story gets legendary. Because what does a heartbroken musical genius do? He writes a hit, a massive career-defining hit. Fan theory has always been that his breakout solo song, So Sick, was written during one of his painful off-again periods with Jessica. Listen to the lyrics.
Gotta change my answering machine now that I'm alone.
Gotta change my answering machine now that I'm alone. That's the sound of a man who messed up and is sitting in a lonely hotel room paying the price. The audacity to turn his own drama into a global #1 hit? Damn. Years later, Jessica would basically confirm what we all suspected, talking about how deeply in love she was and how the betrayals in that relationship broke her heart. Woof. By 2007, it was officially over. The trust was gone. She was his first great love of the fame era, the muse who helped build his image and maybe even inspired his greatest song. So where is Jessica today? She's still thriving. She's continued her legendary modeling career, she's an actress, and she's a fierce advocate for mental health, a true survivor. Respect, girl. Now, during one of those many off-again periods with Jessica, Ne-Yo had a brief but legendary encounter, one that would get exposed in a bombshell tell-all book and add a whole new scandalous page to his story.
Karine Steffans, the video vixen. Okay, so if Jessica White was the official primetime red carpet story, Karine Steffans was the explicit, unrated, behind-the-scenes director's cut. Now, for anyone who wasn't glued to hip-hop blogs in 2006, you have to understand, Karine Steffans, aka Superhead, was a cultural earthquake. She wasn't just a video model, she was the industry's most famous historian, pulling back the curtain on the scandalous private lives of the biggest stars in the world. This wasn't a love story. This was an entry in the hottest, most explosive tell-all book of the decade. This book was the celebrity tea before Instagram blogs even existed. It was the original receipt. In her New York Times bestseller, Karine detailed her intense encounters with some of the biggest names in the game. And nestled right there in those pages was a story about our favorite R&B gentleman, Ne-Yo. Now, this all allegedly went down during one of his many off periods with Jessica White. So was he technically cheating? The timeline is murky, so probably not. But the scandal? Oh, the scandal of just being in the book was major. This was a huge deal because it chipped away at that perfect, gentlemanly image Ne-Yo was building. Suddenly, he wasn't just the guy writing sweet love songs. He was part of the industry's messy, scandalous underbelly. It proved he wasn't so clean. And where is the legendary Karine Steffans now? She flipped that fame into a career as a multiple New York Times bestselling author and media powerhouse. She played the game and then she wrote the rules. We have to respect it. So after the public roller coaster with Jessica and the scandalous expose from Karine, it seems like Ne-Yo was craving a break from the spotlight. The drama was getting too loud. He needed to go private. He needed a chapter that nobody would ever write about.
Tenille Jimenez, the unspoken chapter. He needed a chapter that nobody would ever write about. Enter Tenille Jimenez. And if you're asking who, that's exactly the point. After the supermodel and the super scandal, Ne-Yo hit the emergency brake on his public love life. This relationship, which lasted from roughly 2009 to 2010, was the celebrity equivalent of going into incognito mode. There were almost no red carpet photos, no gushy interviews, no drama, nothing. And that wasn't an accident, that was a strategy. She was the ghost in his dating history, a total palate cleanser to reset his public image. And where is she now? Exactly where she was then, completely out of the public eye. She kept the secrets then, and she's keeping them now. However, this quiet period wasn't the end of his dating story. Far from that. It was just the deep breath before the plunge into building a family he would one day tear apart. Monyetta Shaw, the fiancé and first-time father. After the chaos and the quiet, Ne-Yo was ready to build something real. Not just a PR relationship, but a family. He wanted the dream he was selling in his songs, and he found that dream with Monyetta Shaw. Monyetta was perfect. She was beautiful, she was smart, and most importantly, she wasn't in the entertainment industry. She was real. They had known each other casually for years, but the juicy anecdote is that they reconnected in 2009 at a Jamie Foxx concert, and the timing was finally right. For a beautiful moment, he was the family man he wrote songs about. And the dream became real, fast. In 2010, they welcomed their first child, a beautiful baby girl named Madeline Grace Smith. Ne-Yo was officially a dad, and he played the part perfectly. He was doting, he was present. This was his King of the Castle era. And just 11 months later, they did it again, welcoming their son, Mason Evan Smith. 2 kids, a beautiful fiancé, because yes, he put a ring on it. This was the image of stability. This was forever. They were building an empire of love, and we all had a front row seat. He was on every talk show gushing about fatherhood.
What's genuinely important is these kids are making sure that they know that love is the end result of this whole thing. It's all about love.
This wasn't just a relationship, it was his entire identity. He finally had it all. And this is where the fairy tale becomes a horror story. Because when you think you have forever, you make forever decisions. Monyetta and Ne-Yo decided their family was complete. 2 kids, 1 boy, 1 girl. it was perfect. So they made a pact that, to ensure they wouldn't have any accidents, Monyetta would undergo a medical procedure, a tubal ligation. She got her tubes burned.
Let's be clear. This was a mutual decision, based entirely on the promise of marriage and a shared future. She made a permanent, life-altering choice for their family. And just as she was healing from that procedure, Neo called off the wedding. He admitted it himself. He told Monyetta just 2 months before their wedding that he wasn't ready for monogamy. He broke the promise that her entire future was built on, leaving her with a broken heart and a body that could no longer naturally have children. The devastation was absolute. He walked away, and she was left to pick up the pieces of a promise he designed, signed, and then shredded. It was, without a doubt, the most savage chapter in his story. But if you think she let this painful tragedy destroy her forever, then you haven't been paying attention. So where is Monyetta now? Oh boy, she didn't just survive. She upgraded. She's now a reality TV star, a successful author, happily remarried, and is co-parenting with Neo like an absolute boss. She turned the deepest betrayal into her biggest comeback. A true queen indeed. So, you've just publicly blown up your perfect family because you admitted you can't be faithful to only one woman? What's the next logical, rational step on your journey? You slide into a model's DMs and decide to try marriage all over again. Make it make sense. Oh, Lord.
Crystal Renay, the wife and the bombshell divorce. So, how does this sequel to a romantic tragedy even begin? It started, as all timeless, epic love stories do now in the 21st century, with a slide into the DMs. Seriously, Neo was casting for a music video, saw Crystal Renay Williams, a model, and reached out. A business meeting turned into a hot romance, and less than 2 years after breaking Monyetta's heart because he couldn't do monogamy, he was engaged again. The logic is, well, there is no logic at all. And for a minute, it seemed like maybe, just maybe, he had figured it out. They got married in a stunning ceremony, and the family started growing immediately. First came Shaffer Smith Jr. in 2016, then Roman Alexander Smith in 2018. And for a while, they played the part of the perfect blended Hollywood family. The photos were perfect, the kids were adorable, it was a vibe. But this is Neo we're talking about, and stable family is not in his vocabulary. The first massive crack appeared in early 2020 when Neo went on a podcast and publicly announced they were getting a divorce. He even filed the papers. Sources close to the couple said Crystal was completely blindsided by the public announcement. But then, the world shut down. The pandemic hit, and stuck in the house together, they reconciled. Neo himself went on TV and called the lockdown a blessing that saved his marriage. Remember that word, blessing.
Done. So in a way, I thank God for the quarantine.
Yeah.
Because it helped me get closer to my family. It helped me put my stuff in proper perspective.
Yeah.
So, to celebrate their pandemic-saved marriage, what did they do? Instead of, intense therapy, they decided to throw a party. A ridiculously over-the-top vow renewal in Las Vegas in April 2022. I'm talking a room with 10,000 red roses, a 6-foot-tall cake. They were doubling down on forever in the most public way possible, proclaiming their unbreakable love for the whole world to see. And then, just 4 months later, Crystal took to Instagram and detonated a nuclear bomb on their entire marriage.
8 years. 8 years of lies and deception. 8 years of unknowingly sharing my life and my husband with numerous women who sell their bodies to him unprotected. Every last one of them. She ends by saying, To ask me to stay and accept it is absolutely insane. The mentality of a narcissist. But accept what exactly? What was the final straw for Crystal? She sadly discovered that during their supposedly blessed marriage, and after the birth of their third child, Isabella Smith, in 2021, Neo had also fathered 2 more children with another woman. Absolutely vile. Yikes. The marriage was dead on arrival. The divorce was brutal, public, and expensive. And honey, Crystal came to collect. When the dust settled, the judge ordered Neo to pay up. The final scorecard was a $1.6 million lump sum payout, one of their 4 homes in Georgia, $12,000 a month in child support for their 3 kids, and $5,000 a month in alimony for 3 years. He didn't just lose a wife, he paid a multi-million-dollar price tag for his infidelity. And where is Crystal now? She got the bag, she's raising her kids, and she's telling her side of the story on the reality show Bold and Bougie. She's booked and busy, baby. The marriage was dead. The secret was out. But the woman who was at the very center of the explosion, the so-called marriage breaker, who had not 1, but 2 of his children in secret, she had a name, and it was time for the world to know it.
Sade Bagnerise, the marriage breaker. The marriage was dead. The secret was out. But the woman at the epicenter of this earthquake, the marriage killer who held the receipt that burned Neo's whole world down, she had a name. And after Crystal's post, the entire internet was scrambling to find it. Meet Sade Bagnerise. She wasn't just a random affair. She was Neo's entire double life, hidden in plain sight. Insider info suggests their relationship started sometime in 2021, meaning this wasn't a one-time mistake. It was a long-term, parallel relationship. But the real story here, the part that is just jaw-droppingly cold, is the timeline. Look at this. While Neo was publicly celebrating the birth of his daughter with his wife, Crystal Renay, he already had another son, Brayden, on the way with his mistress, Sade Bagnerise. He was literally at the hospital with Crystal, then turning around and living a separate life. And while he was putting on that multi-$1,000 vow renewal, telling the world Crystal was his everything, Sade was pregnant with his second child, Brixton. The betrayal is almost unbelievable. After the scandal broke, it got even messier. This wasn't a quiet exit. Court documents revealed Neo had to file for parental rights, leading to a public and nasty legal battle over child support and custody. He went from hiding his kids to fighting for them in court. And here's where it gets even more complicated. In a moment of, well, you can decide what to call it, Sade actually took to social media and issued a public apology, not to Neo, but to Crystal. She asked for forgiveness, acknowledging the pain and humiliation she contributed to. It was a move no one saw coming, and it added a wild human layer to a story that was already off the rails. But don't think for a second she's Team Neo now. Sade has become one of the most vocal critics of his new lifestyle. As he started posting about his polyamorous pyramid, Sade allegedly took to social media, blasting him with subtweets. She's called him out, suggesting it's more about partying and neglecting responsibility than some enlightened form of love. She's essentially telling the world, don't believe the hype. So, after leaving a trail of broken promises, 2 broken families, and now 7 children, Neo was backed into a corner. He had been exposed as a serial cheater. He had 2 choices: disappear in shame and try to fix it, or stop hiding altogether. Stop apologizing, and just become the man he'd always been. But this time, do it in front of the entire world. The polyamorous era. So what do you do when your entire life implodes in public? When you're exposed as a serial cheater with a secret second family? Well, if you're Neo, you don't apologize. You don't retreat. You rebrand. He decided to stop lying not by changing his ways, but by changing the rules. And in early 2025, he introduced the world to his new world order. Ladies and gentlemen, meet the pyramid. After years of trying and failing at monogamy, Neo officially came out in the open as a man who needs a roster. He wasn't hiding anymore. He was boasting. So who are the women who signed up for this polyamorous arrangement? Let's meet his harem of 4 girlfriends who all call him daddy. First up, you have Christina Bella, an influencer and beauty entrepreneur he calls daddy's pretty baby. Then there's Ariel Hill, a professional photographer he dubbed his twin flame. Next in the lineup is Monet, another influencer who goes by the nickname Phoenix Feather. And rounding out the core 4 is Brianna Williams, one of his own tour dancers who he calls his sexy lil something. So how does this work exactly? Well, Neo has been shockingly open about the logistics. He went on Kai Cenat's stream and casually mentioned that to accommodate his new life, he had to have a custom-made 12-foot Alaskan king bed built.
King is
No
too small.
disrespect.
I have an Alaskan king.
Oh, Alaskan king is
that's like 2 California.
That sounds like Alaskan. What the fuck is Alaskan?
It's
Sounds
like 2 California kings next to each other.
What the fuck?
Yeah, you gotta get that.
Let that sink in. He's literally building furniture to support his harem. But the most controversial part of this whole fairy tale is the fine print. He has publicly stated that while his girlfriends are all expected to be exclusive to him, he is not exclusive to them. He's free to be with them and anyone else he chooses. It's a one-way only street of loyalty. And not everyone is buying the enlightened lifestyle story. His own baby mama, Sade, has been his biggest public critic, throwing shade online and suggesting that this pyramid is less about love and more about a nonstop party with his responsibilities as a father of 7 taking a backseat. She's essentially the whistleblower on his new utopia. And that's the final evolution. He is no longer Mr. Independent, championing one strong woman. He is now, by his own design, the patriarch of his own tribe, where he sets the rules. The architect of heartbreak has finally designed a system where in his mind, he can no longer be the villain because he's told everyone the ugly truth up front. Love it or hate it, this is the man he is now. But when you look back at the entire story, a very clear and very messy pattern emerges.
So, when you lay out all the evidence, from the first heartbreak to the final shocking revelation, the pattern isn't just clear, it's undeniable. This was never just a series of bad breakups. This was the 20-year story of a man at war with the very idea of love that he sold to the world. We saw the architect of heartbreak in action, a man who built a career writing about perfect love while leaving a trail of devastation behind him. From Monyetta's broken promise to Crystal's public humiliation. The pain he caused wasn't a bug in the system, it was the system. And we witnessed his final, shocking transformation from Mr. Independent, the man who celebrated a woman who had her own, to the patriarch, the man who literally built a pyramid with himself at the top. He didn't change his ways, he just stopped hiding them. So, I have to ask the Love and Music family, after seeing the entire story, what's the final verdict? Is Neo's new lifestyle a brave act of radical honesty? Or is it just the ultimate, most sophisticated way to cheat without any consequences? And who do you think out of all the women in this wild ride was Neo's one true love? Or was it never really about love at all? Let me know your unfiltered thoughts in the comments below. And make sure you subscribe so you don't miss our next deep dive.